30 years ago, 30 years, 3 decades ago, I used to play Warcraft 2. They've released the remaster, and I'm here to tell you about it. Now, this released in late 2024, and I'm recording this in March 2025. It just dawned on me, a few days ago that Warcraft 2 still existed, and I made a video just talking about the early days. So if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. But this video is focused on the remaster version. I just bought it. I went on the Blizzard store and everything was on sale except for this, which was kind of annoying. Anyway, it was $20 Canadian, or I think it's 15 or 16 US or whatever. So whatever, I just picked it up. And actually, I watched a few videos beforehand just wondering if it was even worth it. And part of me said no, it wasn't, because I was just a little disappointed in a few things. And I'm going to discuss that in this video here. And as I'm doing that, you're going to notice I'm playing some games here with the existing community on the remastered version. I loaded it up the other night and played a few fun games. There's a group of people just kind of hosting kind of random maps and playing team games. And I had a great time, actually. And I guess I'll start off by saying the game is better now than it ever was. The remaster is fantastic in a lot of ways. The graphics, you can't really tell much of a difference watching the video, but when you're playing it, everything just feels a little crisper and it just feels nice. Having been playing, the original DOS game and the Windows BNet edition, this game, it just feels better in terms of that. Now, it does have some problems, but it does feel better and it feels more modern. Now, a lot of that is the just slight changes to the graphics, the hit point bar and the UI elements in the game. Yeah, everything just feels a little bit crisper. With that said, there's a lot of things that they really dropped the ball on with this. When StarCraft Remastered came out, they had spent all this time researching, what the community was looking for, what to change, what not to change. And it came out and it had a few problems, but they, eventually fixed them. But I mean, generally speaking, it came out pretty strong. And when it did come out, I had no qualms about buying it. I pretty much bought it right away. And it's fantastic. I still dabble with it once in a blue moon here, but Warcraft 2, on the other hand, it just didn't really have that same oomph to it. Just watching videos, I'm like, well, what did they even change anything? And, I'd say my biggest gripe so far with the way they've handled this is, well, number one, they released it with no balance patches. I mean, 30 years later, they've never balanced this game ever. And then they release it with no balance patch. They did actually balance things, but it wasn't until they, months later after they had released the game. And, I'm going to just kind of go over some patch notes here and just kind of discuss them as we go through. So December 4th, version 1.0.1, user interface enhancements. So alliance menu, they introduced in online player games. This feature allows players to dynamically change alliances and share vision during matches. I mean, why wasn't that in the game originally? It was in the initial game release. I mean, that was just a feature that was in the game. So it basically, not only did they not really improve a lot of things here, they took things away from the game, like the original game, which makes no sense. And of course, I'm sure people must have complained because they reintroduced it. Classic victory defeat screens, reinstated the original animations. And I don't know what it was initially, but whatever. Now, with that said, for some reason, and you'll see it later in the video, like you have to scroll through the victory / defeat screen to see everybody's stats. The original game, everything was just on one. There was no scroll. You just saw everything you needed to know, and that was that. So, I mean, it's a minor gripe, but it's like, why would you introduce a scroll to see everyone's information when you're not even providing any new information? You're just making the interface more cumbersome for no reason. Things like that, as a game developer, I'm kind of like, why? Why did you bother? Yeah, it does look a little nicer, but again, you're not introducing any new information. So what's the point? And then here, custom scenario navigation. So I don't even know what they had before this, but I mean, in the original games, you could navigate through all the folders and pick whatever map you wanted to. In this case, they don't even have all the old maps, and that was kind of like I was looking for the original Garden of War. It's not even in the game. It's like why would you release a remaster of a game and not even have the original maps in it? I mean, granted, the BattleNet versions, like they've kind of got like updated versions of their maps, and yeah, they're more balanced. But a lot of people that played this game, 30 years ago, they like those old maps and they like the imbalances of them. So like, why wouldn't you at least give us the option to play them? Is kind of beyond me. Like that, it would be like StarCraft Remastered being launched without Lost Temple or something like that. It just doesn't make any sense, and they still haven't introduced those. So resource settings added a map default option. I mean, again, why would that not be in there to begin with? Lobby improvements. Introduced password protection for creating multiplayer lobbies. A countdown timer when launching games and region indicators for the lobby. Again, I mean, like this, a lot of this stuff was just in the game. Why would they just take it out and release the game and be like, oh, we're going to take all these features that were in the original game that were useful to people, and we're just going to take them out and see what happens. Like, what were they thinking? So then gameplay adjustments, grid key input, add an option for grid-based hotkeys. I mean, again, that should have just been in the game. Like you shouldn't have had to patch that into a remastered game 30 years later. Like, what were they thinking? So then we get into some balance changes, and this is the good stuff here. So the Paladin, heal ability, reduce mana cost per health from 6 to 5. Basically, they buffed healing, exorcism, research time. Like, yeah, buffing Paladins 100%. That's probably the best thing they've done in this game. Death Knights, they kind of nerfed Death and Decay and buffed Raise Dead. That's probably a good thing because Raise the Dead was always just a spell. It was almost like a joke. You'd never use it. And I don't think this change is probably going to change that very much, but at least it makes it a little bit more practical. And I find that the changes they made here in most cases are just that, like just making things a little bit more practical versus just, catapulting them up into, being very relevant. Mage, Blizzard, reduced range. I guess that makes a little bit of sense. It is a strong spell, especially after nerfing, Death and Decay. Ogre Mage, nerfing Bloodlust again. I think that those balance changes are what this game has needed for 30 years. And then not listed on here, I'm just using ChatGPT, but they did actually buff archers and axe throwers. And I think they reduced the research time and cost of the upgrades, and they buffed their attack, which again was much needed. They were pretty much useless in the original game, so hats off to them for making those changes. So then in version 1.02, March 4th, gameplay improvements, they buffed archers and axe throwers, their reaction time to units, which they were pretty much like dead corpses before. Like if you ran a unit by an archer or something, it wouldn't kind of fling an arrow at it. So that's an improvement. Flying unit behavior, dragons and griffins no longer command locked shortly after attacking. Again, that's a good buff, but actually I don't even know if that really took into effect because when I was playing the other night, like I had a couple of griffins and I think I was attacking like a mage or something, and basically they just stood still for like 5 seconds getting blizzard to death. So anyway, whatever. Multiplayer enhancements, and this is where I get a little peeved about this. So lobby features. Start location. Hosts can choose between random or fixed start locations during lobby creation. That was, again, in the original game. But not only did they do that, they defaulted the option of fixed. Like, nobody wants a fixed starting location. That's just, I mean, maybe you do, but 99 out of 100 times, people generally playing this game are going to want random. So why would you default it to fixed just to make people change? Little things like that. It's like they didn't put much thought into this. And that's really the part that bothers me. Player management. Hosts can kick players from the lobby. Players have the option to move to different slots within the lobby. Yeah, again, I mean, it should have just been in there from the get-go. And then bug fixes. Resolved a crash issue occurring when a player joined a lobby during... Okay, well, That's good. Hot fixes, reverted changes to flying unit behavior. Okay, well there we go. Fix an issue where ground units would stack on top of each other. I don't know where that would have even come into play. That was never an issue in this game. And then March 5th, again, reverted changes to range unit behavior that allow players to bypass attack cooldowns. So they must have maybe put a little glitch in there when they made that change. Anyway, so yeah, so we've got some updates on the way here, and hopefully with this video I can maybe highlight some other issues that they can fix and update the game with. And I'd say my number one issue is the community and the multiplayer. Like, okay, so you start the game and you go to multiplayer, and then you can see host of games, and that's it. There's no chat room. It's just basically, you can see a hosted game, or you can create a hosted game. And actually, when I was trying to create a game, for whatever reason, I was clicking create new game, and just nothing was happening. I had to relaunch the game and do it again. And yeah, so there's obviously some bugs with what little they already have in there that they need to fix. And again, no chat room. Why would you not have a chat room? Like, what were you thinking? I could maybe understand that if the game was like a big game and was really popular, but what happens is, okay, I just spent $20 buying this game. I log in, I go to multiplayer. There's no games hosted. I host one. Nobody's joining. Like, I might have to wait 5, 10, 15 minutes for some random person just to log in and decide to join my game because there's no community. And that's really just because of the fact that, well, they whiffed it. They could have gotten this game right out of the gate, people playing it, and having a bit of a community there, but they didn't. They literally just said, hey, if you enjoy this game in multiplayer, screw you. We're gonna do everything we can to not foster a community in this game. It's just baffling how dumb that decision was. Like, why did they even bother remastering this game if they didn't want anybody to play it, right? Like, it's just ridiculous. And so, anyway, luckily enough, I did find, a train of, players. They're all pretty cool, and they let me join their game. And as we're watching this, I'm playing against them here. And I think actually this was a free-for-all that we're watching right now. But before this game, there's an 8-player game that we were watching that, had a great time, and I had a great time with this game too, and I've played a few other games as well. But anyway, it took me a while to figure out there actually was a community playing this game, and there is a chat room that's outside of the actual game, but it's like a BattleNet community created chat group, and I'm going to put a link in the description below, so if you want to join in, you'll see a big list of players that are actively playing the game. And so when they're hosting, they'll say, hey, we're hosting the game. And so there is the community, but it had to be player created. Like, that should have just been in the game by default, right? And that really bothers me. And really, like, they didn't put any thought into this remake at all. And I'm hoping they fix it. Like, the most recent patch was just last week, so they are actively working on the game and updating it. But it just blows my mind. And there's other issues. Like, if you're in the game, like, why can't I add someone as a friend? Like a BattleNet friend. Like, why isn't there zero interaction between the BattleNet interface and this game and the players in it? Like, there's just nothing there. Like, they put zero effort into making a community function in this game. And it's such a shame because, like I said, the game itself has gotten better. Like, it's fun, and the balance changes are amazing. Like, the game feels better, and like, humans are just so much more fun now. You don't feel like you're just getting run over by bloodlust. Like, you've actually got options, and yeah, like, everything is just better. And the game, it could be fairly active. I actually, before I bought this, I went on to there's a War2 Combat Edition game, which is a community server, and there's still people playing on that server. Like, there's probably, maybe even more people playing on this server of the old version of the game than this new version. And it's like, what does that tell you? Like, this, Warcraft is a massive franchise. I mean, World of Warcraft, there's like tens or 50 million people that are familiar with this franchise, and so they release this game, and there's like 8 people playing it. How does that make any sense at all? Like, just, by virtue of like randomness, there should be like hundreds of people playing this game just on the IP alone. Like, you know what I mean? Because it is a fun game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, again, whoever was responsible for making this game, I don't know what happened, but they owe the community more and better. And they should really apologize for how poorly they've handled this, in my opinion. Like, it just, again, it just blows my mind. Another change they added with, the control of 12 units at a time, that is fantastic as well. And yeah, so I mean, they didn't miss the mark in terms of the gameplay, and but they completely missed the mark on everything else. And even, like the campaign. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to, like, I guess I wasn't really expecting much out of that, but it's like they just really didn't change anything. Like, some of the level design is pretty atrocious, especially like the original campaign. I mean, like the first level, for example, in the Ore campaign, you basically have a town hall that's like 9 spaces away from the gold mine, and you've got to build, 3 farms and a barracks or something, and it's just really like bad. Like, they could have up, and I guess I wasn't really expecting that, and maybe I should let that off the hook. But and they did take the time to, change the interface around, make it more appealing. But then, you go from this kind of sleek interface to, these old animated movies that they made that look like, the equivalent of like a 4-year-old drawing a cat, with a crayon or something compared to modern day, right? And I don't know, maybe they could have done something there just to make it a little bit more modern. But anyway, going back to, the community, I feel like there's certainly an opportunity to, grow this community and develop a competitive environment. But Blizzard, I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know who's making these decisions. Just ask people that actually play the game, like, what do you want? Like, why? I don't know. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, guys, again, there's going to be a link down if you want to join that chat group if you're on BattleNet, just to join in, maybe jump into some games here. And, I'd really like to see this game kind of pick up the pace here a bit, and get some more people actively playing, because it is a fantastic game, and these updates they've made have only made it better. So anyway, that's all I've got to say right now, guys. And so stay tuned for some more videos. I might make some more, maybe some competitive games, and we'll see how things go. Anyway, like and subscribe and comment if you got any questions or just want to chat. So take care, guys.